Happy Sunday, and here we are today talking about the F word. Yeah, and the reason I know the Spirit put it through me like this because this thing we're talking about today, forgiveness, I could do it every day of my life, all day long, all night long. And so sometimes it's an easy thing also to shy away from, to think, well, I don't want to forgive them, or, well, I don't have any forgiveness to do. Or, oh, yeah, I'll do it later. However, before we start and really delve into forgiveness, I'd like to start us with a little giggle. As usual, a little giggle so that we can get our giggle muscle going. So there was a girl, young girl, and she was running to her spiritual center. She thought she was late, and as she's running to the spiritual center, she's saying, oh, I affirm and accept that I get there on time. I know that I get there on time. I know that I get there on time. I just know it. I affirm it and accept it. And she fell down. And she fell down and soiled the front of her dress and her shoes and everything. And she got back up and said, okay, thank you, God. I affirm that I get there on time. Thanks so much for getting me on time. And I forgive you for shoving me. Just a little inside one. You have to think about it a little. So, yeah, let's talk about forgiveness. Yeah, so forgiveness has a lot of definitions. You did hear one of the definitions in the readings. Thank you, Sarah, that you read so lovely, in a loving way, from Edwin Gaines. However, I want to compile them all together. So, for forgiveness, some of the things is what forgiveness means: giving up negativity in exchange for peace of mind. Forgiveness is compassion. Forgiveness is freedom. Yes, forgiveness is freedom. Forgiveness is an intentional decision to surrender resentment and or anger. You know, no more holding on to it. An intentional. And forgiveness is a choice to release guilt or fault. And that's a choice. We can choose that, or we can hold on to it if we'd like. So when I was being with this all week long, a couple of days ago, Spirit shot this through me to speak about beavers. I don't know a lot about beavers. You may not even care about beavers, but this is what showed up for me. So I looked up about beavers. I mean, I am from an agricultural state, but I haven't been there in a long time. Anyway, about beavers. Beavers make dams, okay? And the beavers, some of the dams they make are productive, because some of the dams they make sediment. They make sediment when they make these dams, and some of that sediment is heavy metals and other things that are in our soil that they get rid of. However, just conversely, when beavers make dams, one of the things that happens that's not helpful is it slows down the flow of water. And sometimes that water is needed downstream for animals, plants, farms, rivers, gardens. And the other thing it does is increases unwanted sediment. Some of that same sediment that we don't want, it increases it. And also the thing that beavers do, and I didn't know, they harm the diversity of the forest because they chew down some trees that are important for the forest. Now, we know our forests all regenerate themselves. However, in the moment, this is something that beavers do. So it's really like damming up and causing some sort of harm. We'll get back to beavers in a minute, but the question for you is, where have you become an unforgiveness beaver? Yeah, where have you become an unforgiveness beaver? So speaking about forgiveness and unforgiveness, I love this topic, and a story came to me that I know about this woman, but I found out another story about her. Her name is Corrie ten Boom. You probably know about Corrie ten Boom. She's Dutch. She was Dutch. And she, during World War II, she and her family were accredited with hiding 800 Jews and saving their lives. 800 people in their home, okay? So as they were doing this, a neighbor turned them in. And so when they got turned in, she and her sister got taken to a concentration camp. And she and her sister, while they were in the camp, of course, I don't need to tell you about it. Her sister made her transition in the camp. Her parents made their transition in the camp. She was the only one in her family who got out of the camp. And when she got out of the camp, she dedicated her life to forgiveness. which is a huge one to me, dedicated her whole life to forgiveness. So she used to go around and speak. She's no longer on this side of the veil. She's made her transition. But she used to go around and speak in Germany. And so she was speaking one time in Munich. And she was speaking about forgiveness. And she was saying, in the presence of the divine, spirit within, forgiveness is possible for all. That anything that you may think you have done or anything you've been a part of, forgiveness is available if you allow yourself to accept it within. And so when she got done with the speech, which is often, there's a line of people, you know, who wanted to talk to her and congratulate her and just hug her and be with her. So as the people were going through the line, there was a stout man who ambled up, and when she looked at him, all she could see was an SS uniform and the hat and the weapon. And she realized this person coming up in line to her had been one of the guards at the camp where she was. And, of course, her blood ran cold, and she didn't know exactly what she was going to do. And he came up to her and said, Fraulein, wonderful speech, and I'm happy to know that forgiveness is available to everyone. Will you forgive me? Yeah, and so she was frozen in that spot, and what she did was just said to herself within, spirit within, show me the way. Spirit within, I know it's in there. I know that it's available. Show me the way. And he had been holding out his hand, and she held out her hand mechanically, just went with it, like Spirit said, just do it, girl, do it. Went with it. She took his hand and shook his hand, and the moment that she shook his hand, she felt an electric charge go from the top of her head, through her shoulder, outer arm, outer forearm, and into her hand, and that both of them, he felt it too, and then both of them were now held together in the love of the divine, in the forgiveness of the divine. The both of them it was like an electric charge for the both of them. So this story, it really affects me because I don't know if I could have done what Corrie ten Boom did. I'm not clear. I would like to think I can, but I'm not really always clear about it. However, there are some ways that I know to approach it, to get myself ready for it, to be in the spiritual practice of it. And this is just practical ways that came to me about forgiveness. So the first one is be circumspect with your thoughts. You know, what are you thinking? What am I thinking? In our reading from Colin Tipping, it said, begin within and know that assaulting other humanity means assaulting our own humanity. Think about it. And also the fabulous Edwene Gaines lets us know the more I forgive, the more I feel forgiven. The more I feel forgiven, the more worthy I feel. The more worthy I feel, the more I open up so the floodgates can open for me and give me all the prosperity and abundance and delights and blessings and manifestations that I could ever imagine, more than I can imagine. So this first one, be circumspect with your thoughts. What are you thinking? And you know, our thoughts are running in there all the time. You know, I think it's Eckhart Tolle who says, I think it's him, or Michael Singer, that there's a roommate inside there. There's a roommate in our head that's talking to us all the time. So the first part is be absolutely circumspect with your thoughts. And for that is, I don't know, like maybe if you something has happened and you feel that you've done something incorrectly, be circumspect about what you think about that. You know, be circumspect. I'll tell you, this morning I was making my smoothie, what I call my Dr. Beckwith green smoothie, okay? And it's got all, it's adaptogen, and it's got all these things in it. And I was making it, and I was thinking about something else, not focusing on it, and I got some of the green powder all over the counter. Now, the first thought that I could have had was, Verona, now you have to clean this up. You know what's up with you. However, what I did decide, I was really circumspect with my thought, and I thought, oh, look at that. Oh, okay. I'm grateful that I have a sponge to clean it up with. And I'm grateful that I have a whole tin of it, so it's not like this is the last of it. There's more and more and more. There's always more and more and more. So that's what I mean by be circumspect with your thoughts. The second thing we can do is be radically scrupulous with our words. Be radically scrupulous with our words. How many times have I used an adjective to describe something that is actually a statement of judgment? How many times have I said, look at that skirt she has on. Look at that thing. What's up with that? Versus being able to say, what an interesting opportunity to wear a skirt. Yeah, so I know that sounds silly, but really we get to be radically scrupulous with our words, and especially radically scrupulous with the words that we say to one another. You know, in what is, how can I say this? Are the words that you say to everyone on the planet, are they filled with love? Are they filled with compassion? Are they filled with patience? Are they filled with, of course, forgiveness? You know, and being radically scrupulous with our words, it's fully experiencing and transforming the planet. You know, one of our readings today by Colin Tipping was pointing out, good morning, Rena, was pointing out that one of our Agape licensed spiritual practitioners, Rena Kessler, is in the house. Yay! And this reading was pointing out that we can change the world. You know, look at the world today. Look at the world today. I was talking with Sandra earlier, and we were saying, yeah, there's been a big pivot happened here in the United States, which of course is the world also. So knowing that I can change the world with my words. How does it feel to know that? Great? Scary? Silly? Powerful? Yeah, all those things and so much more. And here's the thing that I was thinking about this morning about each one of us changing the world with our words is, if you don't think you can change the world, if you don't think you're powerful enough, if you don't think you're the one, you have never been in bed with a mosquito. Yes, 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 yes. We can do it with our words, being scrupulous with our words, radically scrupulous with whatever words I use. Or it's also the thing of, and I was taught this as a very little girl, thank you, my mother. I'll speak her, all right, Spirit, I'll speak her name in the room, Quanta Janice Garland. And she used to say, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. And I'm sure your mothers or fathers did too. I mean, she didn't have the patent on that. But yeah, being radically scrupulous with my words. So, and if I don't have words that are words of all those God qualities we just mentioned, with forgiveness underlying it, then zip it up. Yeah. The next way is we get to take baby steps. You know, I often think it may take minutes, hours, days, months, decades it could take for us to become the epitome of forgiveness. However, we get to take baby steps. And in what way do I take the baby steps? First baby step is I get to be forgiving in traffic. Whether I'm the driver or the rider, I get to be forgiving in traffic. I get to be forgiving on these wonderful freeways that we have in California. Yeah. I get to be forgiving in traffic. I get to be forgiving at my workplace. I get to be forgiving when things show up at my workplace that I don't like, I don't want, and I don't understand why it's there. But be forgiving in the knowingness that the people who show up at our workplace are our sacred, noble friends. And you know, this is the Buddhist concept. What is a noble friend? A noble friend is someone who shows up in your life to expedite your learning process. Yeah, a noble friend is someone who shows up so that you know that you don't just have 100 nerves, you have a last nerve, and they're on it. Yeah, so we can be forgiving in that way. And I see from the laughter, we all understand that. We all experience that. And another way is we can absolutely be forgiving at our spiritual center. You know, I've had people say to me, as a minister, don't you think that when people go to a spiritual center, they need to be nice to each other and forgiving to each other and understanding of each other and aware of each other? And I often say, that's what we're here for, to learn all that. That's why we're here together, to polish each other down, to polish each other into the smoothness of the divine that we are. That's why we're here, That's the reason we're in spiritual community. And as Michael Beckwith often says, you know, community brings immunity. It brings immunity from all those other things. Or it shows the way. It leads the way. It shines the beam down maybe the tunnel of darkness. So we get to take baby steps in our community. And as one other thing, we get to take baby steps in our perspective shift. You know, just take a little step in your perspective shift. I have an older sister. And she knows everything. And she'll be happy to tell you that. And she's the brainiac person, truly. I mean, she's in touch with the divine mind in ways that I didn't even know existed. However, I get to take baby steps in my perspective shift about her. Take baby steps in our relationship. Take baby steps and know that she is in my life so that I embrace and embody and just am in the love affair with compassion. Yeah, so that it shows up that way for me. That thank you, Janet and Ryan, that when my phone rings and it's her ring, I can start with the whole pono pono. Right away. So that's what I mean by a perspective shift. Okay, so these three things. We can take baby steps, we can be radically scrupulous with our words, and we can be circumspect with our thoughts. So back to the beavers. So is there a beaver in you that is damming up the forgiveness, damming up the compassion, damming up the love, the nurturing, the acceptance, the patience? All of those things that are God qualities that live within us, that are within us just saying, let me out, let me out, let me out, I'm here, I'm yours. And as Edwene was teaching us too, the more I forgive, the more I feel forgiven. The more I feel forgiven, the more worthy I feel. And in that worthiness, there is no place for not enoughness. And if there's no place for not enoughness, then what is there? Enoughness. There is plenitude. There is all possibilities. There is opulence. There is wealth. There's prosperity. And so many things. Yeah. So those three things, they showed up for me, are the ways that we can allow ourselves to be the same sort of example as Corrie ten Boom. Because she's not an exception. Just like Jesus the Christ was not an exception. She's not an exception either. There's a Corrie ten Boom in each one of us. That each one of us can use these three steps, these three simple steps, and make that happen. Make forgiveness what we lead with. Make forgiveness be the God quality that shows up all the time in, through, and as us. And forgiveness comes along with its twin, compassion. And we can be compassionate in every aspect, and especially with ourselves. This whole F word thing is important because it starts within. It starts with ourselves. So I'd like to explain to you how it's been working for me. Recently, I embarked upon an activity. It was an Edwene Gaines activity where for 30 days, every day, 30 days, 35 times in the morning, 35 times in the evening, right out, I, Verona, completely forgive myself. Yeah. Oh. And this is the reason it's 35 in the morning, 35 at night. You know, in the Bible when they asked Jesus, I think it was Simon Peter who asked Jesus, how much do I have to forgive this person? How much do we have to forgive? And Jesus said 70 times 7, which of course is always 70 times 7 because they asked how often. He said all the time. So this practice is 30 days. I forgive myself completely. I, put your name in the blank. I, Reverend Robert, forgive myself completely. Put your name in the blank. And 35 times in the morning, 35 times in the evening. Now, you can do it midday and midday, but 70 times, all right? So for 30 days. And you know Edwene Gaines, if you skip a day, guess what? You start again. So I was determined and committed to doing it, and I did do it. And whoa, my life changed in so many ways. My life, in one of the biggest ways my life changed is I have a dear friend. I have known him, maybe we've known each other 45 years now. And we used to work together. And at one point, about 20 years ago, he and I had a falling out. We had a disagreement. I did something that he was offended by, and he got in touch with me and said, sis, why would you do that? And I gave my reason, and he said, all right, well, I can forgive. I can't forget it. However, we could still, be friends. It did shift our friendship intimacy. However, that's what happened, and we went on. Okay, and then we went on about our lives. We're busy working. We get in touch with each other, I don't know, every 3 or 4 months, just tap in with each other. I had not heard from this friend of mine for 2 years. And in me, I kept thinking, is he still upset? I know it was 2 decades ago, but maybe he's still upset. Because what I did was something to be upset about. And during this time that I was doing the 30 days of writing, I, Verona, completely forgive myself 70 times each day, one day he called me. He just called me and he said, sis, I love you. I miss you. I forgive you. Yeah, during this time of doing this exercise, yeah. And that wasn't the only thing. Some people who owed me money, and I know there's no debt in the divine mind. I know that, I understand that, I accept that. However, some people owed me money. And I was thinking, well, it'll come when it comes. It came I was supposed to get it at a certain time. It came 2 weeks early. All of a sudden, I go in the mailbox, and there it is. Yeah. All while I was doing the forgiveness exercise. And another thing that happened during the forgiveness exercise, I didn't think I was going to say this, but okay, Spirit, I am. I am one of 5 siblings. Our first sibling and our 5th sibling are on the other side of the veil. So there are 3 of us here. One of my siblings and I did not speak to each other for 10 years. Yeah, 10 whole years. She was upset with me. I didn't understand what it was. And that was it. During the time that and by the way, after the 10 years, recently, within the last 2 years, we started speaking again. Okay, she got in touch with me, we started speaking again, we started building our friendship again, and it's been wonderful. And recently, during that 30 days, my sibling phoned me and said, I want to tell you what it was I thought you did all those years ago that made me stop speaking to you. Yeah. And what it was, and I got to honor the way she felt. However, I didn't think in the time I was here on this side of the veil I was ever going to find out. So I say all this to say that this forgiveness stuff works. Like Johnny Coleman used to say, it works if you work it. Yeah, so besides doing the 3 things that I listed, being circumspect with your thoughts, being radically scrupulous with your words, and taking baby steps, I'm inviting you today to start the 30-day forgiveness exercise. Yes, woohoo, I know, it's a commitment. However, our world needs us to be forgiving and compassionate right now. Look what's happening right now. The divine feminine is bursting through. And what goes with that? Forgiveness, compassion, love, nurturing, and all those things. So I invite you to release and surrender your unforgiveness beaver self. Let it go. Thank it. Send it on its way. And allow yourself to be the epitome of absolute forgiveness right here and right now. Let's pray.